This is the ARLa Elite Series, here for race number 7 of 24 in Rovaniemi, Finland. The Smash Beer Pole Award would go to Laura Cyrus in car number 42. No, that Barely Bear car on Cyrus's outside is not Leslie Riggs. Instead, it is Rachel Wagner, one of her fellow Barely Bear models, making her ARLa Elite Series debut in the number 76 for Ken Groves. Because of the high amount of money Barely Bear is usually willing to pay for sponsorship, Wagner was written off as nothing more than a ride buyer. However, Wagner silenced her critics by qualifying for the race and placing second in time trials. There you saw some contact between Chris Johans and Wagner after Johans shot up onto the track. We'll show you what happened here. Michael White in the Zero hooks and turns the 64 onto the apron. However, Johans is able to hold on to the car because the apron has about the same banking as the track surface. The first caution of the day flew on lap 2. 4 wide does not work terribly well at this track, despite how wide it may look. Mike Andrews and Mario Franchetti get together, taking both cars hard into the outside wall. Luckily, this incident occurred in the back. Had it happened further up, this could have been a very big mess. Franchetti would take car number 4 behind the wall and out of the race. Leigh Gruel was the leader, and Laura Cyrus was in second under this yellow flag. However, they would both have to come into the pits for tire issues. Several other cars would have problems as well, including Allie Riggs, as you saw at the top of the screen. This unusual turn of events would place Michael White in the race lead, Jason Bates in second, Chris Johans in third. Johans and Wagner are going to make it 3 wide for second going into turn 1. But as you're going to see, Wagner decides that second isn't good enough, and she gets a great run going into turn 3 to take the lead. There you see Kurt Walker going to the inside, trying to make a move for second on Chris Johans. Caution 2 flew on lap 9. Michael White gets together with another car. This time it's Kevin Colley in the 08. Colley slides across the apron, back up onto the track. He gets clobbered by Vinny Enzo. Jared Anderson and CJ Deja were also involved. And there's Allie Riggs spinning down onto the apron. Let's take a look at what happened to Enzo. Nowhere to go, he just piles into the 08, taking the 9, the 37, and Ansgar Clemens, the 04 with him. Alex Graff and Marcus Leonard were also collected. We're riding on board Allie Riggs in car number 19. There's the accident starting, and the 22 just comes from out of nowhere. There would be another wreck coming to the yellow flag. Watch the 67 of Brenda Riggs and the 14 of Bigsby Foot. They get together, collecting Bobby Portu and Hinata Hyuga. All 4 of those cars were able to keep going, however. Rachel Wagner would continue to lead on the restart. She's going to get a very nice jump over Kurt Walker in the 98. But Chris Johans would soon work his way up to second and start chasing down the 76. Jason Bates in that 51 was running very well at this point last year. However, this year has been a completely different story. After crashing out in round 2 at Pikes Peak, Bates has been struggling to qualify for races. And if you look behind Bates, you'll see another driver who's been struggling this year, Namimura, the 13. There were high expectations placed on her after she finished 4th in 2 races the European exhibition held last fall. However, she has failed to deliver on those expectations. Jared Anderson in the 9 was very slow on the restart, and it didn't take the field long to catch up to him. Michael White in particular was extremely frustrated with Anderson's impeding. Thanks to the 9, he would lose several spots. Namimura, who I just mentioned, would blow her engine coming out of turn 2. Tough break for Mura as she was running in the top 15. Once Chris Johans caught up to the 76, the 2 exchanged the lead a few times, but Chris Johans would ultimately prevail. Jason Bates and Dale Underwood took advantage of the battle between the 64 and the 76, and they would take second and third from Wagner. But Wagner would overcome this little setback and start chasing down the 64. Robert Truex was ejected from car number 2 after Talladega. Team owner Andy Pearson decided to reunite with his old ride, and so far it appears to be working very well for him as he is running in the 3rd position. However, this would leave his O&D number 72 without a driver. That's where Pearson's old rival Paul Sweeney comes in. Sweeney will run the European races that are not in Great Britain. Lance Andrews will be behind the wheel for the races that are in the UK and the United States. Blake Gruel in the 46 would claw his way back up to the front, overcoming some tire issues on the first yellow. Gruel has made every race after failing to qualify for Daytona, and his performance has been pretty good so far. Gruel would eventually get by the 76 to lead his first lap since the beginning of the race. The next caution would fly rather late in the race, lap 55. Philip Davidson is going to get spun by the 03 of Dale Underwood coming into turn 3. The 99 is going to get clobbered by Ryan Baldwell. Shane Lake, Jared Anderson, and Earl McDermott are also collected. The 9, 99, 12, and 10 would all be taken out of the race. The 80 would soldier on. Leigh Gruel would continue to lead on the restart, Jason Bates right behind him. Gruel would get a very nice jump, but Chris Johans would close up that gap just in time for the next caution. Andy Pearson is going to hook and turn the 49 of Alex Graff right into the 71 of Packer Carroll, taking both cars into the wall. However, they are able to hang on and keep going. Chris Johans was the leader, however he didn't get as good of a jump as Leigh Gruel did on the previous restart. This would really hurt Chris Johans because of the big line of lapped cars to the inside. This would leave the door open for Leigh Gruel and Alex Carson, who make it 3 wide on the 64. However, Carson is forced to back off, and Gruel takes the lead. The final caution would fly with 12 laps to go, and it was a big one. Michael White in this big traffic jam gets together with the 76 of Rachel Wagner, hooking the 76 into the 51 and creating a big pileup. See Bixby Foot in there, Laura Cyrus, Harry Nola, Neji Huga, Suju Dejao got in there, Brenda Riggs, Bobby Portu, Tristan Roberts, among others. Here's how Kurt Walker got caught up in it. There's nowhere to go for the 98. You see DJ Daniels in there, Ansgar Clemens. The 06 of Anthony Griffith almost flips the 98 over, but the 80 of Earl McDermott comes and runs into him. And as you just saw, Brenda Riggs and Paul Sweeney felt the need to finish off the 98. There were less than 10 laps to go when the race restarted. Leigh Gruel was the leader, looking for his first ARLa Elite Series victory. Alex Carson right behind him. Carson has only one victory in the series, and that was in 2007. Chris Johans shoots to the inside of the 8 and looks to get a run on the 46 as well. Johans has really been struggling this season and needs a good run to restore his confidence. However, I'll have to admit he was running pretty badly at this point last year as well. Andy Pearson's 2-car handles terribly in turns 1 and 2. This allows Gruel to hang on to second and work on battling the 64. In the closing laps of the race, Gruel gets a run on Johans and takes the lead away from the 64. And despite having some very powerful teams breathing down his neck like Johans, Michael White, and Kevin Monroe, Gruel is able to hold them off and take his first ARLa Elite Series victory. This would also be the first manufacturer win for Zenith, which was quite a feat since Gruel was the only Zenith in the field. And here are the top 10 finishers. Chris Johans, Michael White, and Andy Pearson get their best finishes of the year. Rachel Wagner, the supposed ride buyer, brings that 76 car home in 6th, that car's best finish of the year. Taylor Brilland, second start, second consecutive top 10. Leslie Riggs, 8th, Alex Carson, 9th, and Justin Parker in 10th. And here are the top 10 in points. Kevin Monroe is still the leader. Leslie Riggs moves up to 2nd. Alex Carson runs 3rd. Kurt Walker drops to 4th. Hinata Huga 5th. Vinny Enzo 6th. Tristan Roberts 7th. Dale Underwood in 8th. Liz Hebert moves up into the top 10. And Michael White also moves up into the top 10.